Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Pretty good. It's been a good week.
It's always a good thing.
hmm
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Moment of Presence where we talk about lots of different things and things that hopefully will add value after you've heard the conversation, during the conversation, things that you can then take with you into your day and even longer. Uh, Hopefully topics that you can share out with people that also could use the to hear the conversation, get the tips, the action steps, and just dive deeper into what may be going on with them, by us sharing what's been going on with us. So what the heck, what's been going on with you?
I'm just sipping my coffee with my Florida Panthers mug,
Nice.
watching hockey, working, dealing with animal stuff, the huge.
Well, it's funny that you brought up the animal stuff because that was one of the things that kind of led me to this topic. So, what we're going to talk about today is uh, procrastination. Um, I don't remember exactly what the write up was, but that's where it all came from. You know, when you have stuff to do, you have your to do list, and then you look at the end of the day and you haven't gotten any of it done, and you're like, "Why didn't I do that?" Or you're looking at something that needs to be done, something that needs to be addressed, but you just haven't gotten started on it. Maybe you have a pile sitting somewhere, like clothes that may have to be put away after you've washed them and dried them and folded them. And so we're going to talk and have an honest conversation about what is it that makes us procrastinate or push those things off to the side. And so I think we all do this. It's do you do that ever?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all do it. I think when it becomes a problem is when people really need to take a look at it. But I think there's also some times where procrastination can be helpful. Um, or maybe just not a bad thing. Maybe sometimes it's you're meant to procrastinate because there's something that comes out of it that the situation changes. And if you hadn't procrastinated, then you would have wasted time or done something the wrong way or whatever it is.
Mhm. I think that's a really important discernment, right? We should have discernment because that goes to the reaction versus responding, and how many people have that knee jerk reaction and
hmm
you act too fast and then you wish you didn't. So, yes, I think that there's a balance and a harmony that has to be created. And how do you know the difference? You know, how do you figure that out? Um, I like to say, take a moment to be present. Um, because when you're taking that moment, you're taking that pause, you're taking a breath, you should also be checking in. What is this? Why am I so resistant to whatever it is that is in front of you?
That's a good one.
What's the resistance? And if it's that you don't really want to do it and you're acting like a child, I don't want to do it. Well, okay, but why? Is it because
Yeah.
someone's asking you to do it? Would you have done it if someone didn't ask you to do it? Well, then maybe there's some control issues that need to be addressed. So when we stop and we pause and we ask ourselves these questions, we actually can get to some deeper rooted issues that only we can deal with. Only we can identify and we can deal with. I mean, sure, you can go to a psychiatrist and they can help you. You can go to a counselor, but if you just ask yourself some questions, you will get answers
hmm
if you are listening. But that's the thing. You have to be listening.
You also have to be willing to ask the right questions.
That is a very good point too, because Sometimes we skirt around asking the right question because we are afraid of what the answer might be.
We're also really good at convincing ourselves that we aren't the problem. So I would also say it can be a really slippery slope of finding all the reasons why you're not the problem and all the reasons why everybody else is the problem. So there's also definitely a certain level of like you need to be willing to answer the questions honestly to yourself.
Right. Right. And sometimes, and I've done this myself. I am a procrastinator. Um, I will admit that, self admit that. Um, and a perfect example was the other day. I knew that I needed to clean up the animal area. We have animals, and with animals, you have to clean up the animals. And these aren't just, we're not talking about dogs and cats here. We're talking chickens and goats. And so I kind of tricked myself and I said, you know what? I'm just going to do this one little area.
Mm,
And so I did the one little area and I was like, that looks good. Well, let me just do this area.
mm-hmm,
And then I did that area.
mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I was fearful of anything that I wasn't going to finish. It wasn't that I mean, I was a little overwhelmed looking at it all. And these are the different reasons why people tend to procrastinate, right?
It,
We want to get it perfect,
yeah.
or we're afraid we're not going to finish, so why bother starting, or we're going to fail anyway.
Or
Um,
not so negative. We're tired, not in the mood. We're doing
we're
something else.
tired, we're not in the mood. But when
It's
are we
funny.
ever in the mood to do that?
It's funny because I did the same thing to myself, also relating to animal chores the other morning, where I was like, all right, I know I'm going to have to clean out the hay buckets. So I'm going to skip my workout today. I'm just going to do the hay buckets. And then I was like, all right, well, I really need to spray for bugs in the coop. All right, I'm just going to spray for bugs. Well, while I'm here, I might as well just change out the bedding. Well,
Right.
while I'm here, I might as well do this chicken um, coop too. Okay,
Hmm.
well, while I'm here, I should also just move some dirt and re-level the ground a little bit. But
Right.
then halfway through that, I was like, okay, I really genuinely am tired. I gotta go inside.
Yeah. Well,
But instead of just getting one thing done, I got like 5 or 6 things done.
right. And so, how did you feel after you accomplished that?
Hungry.
But looking at the
But
area,
accomplished. And I felt very good. And I was like,
right.
oh, now I don't have to do that this weekend. What a relief.
And the way I felt was, that felt
Hmm.
really good to get that done.
Yeah.
And now, like, Jingle, our older goat, has a place to go, and because
Hmm.
I moved and changed some things. And so not only did I feel accomplished, but I felt like I did something special
Hmm.
and that needed to be done
Yeah.
and that was important. And so we all have, you know, these things that have to get done, and we believe that we have plenty of time to get to them.
I have a
And
great
then what
example.
happens is that you never get to them.
Hmm.
This happens with talking to friends, seeing friends, doing things like that are fun, right? That you want to go and you want to do things, but you're like, well, I'll do that next month, or I'll plan that.
Hmm.
You are the queen of planning things and you get that done immediately. But there's something that I've wanted to plan and I haven't made the flipping phone call. Well,
Hmm.
by the time I make the flipping phone call, guess what? There's not going to be anything available. So unless I don't calling down to the keys. So if I don't do that, what's stopping me from doing that? Well, I get busy. There's other things during my day. But is there really? Because if I look at my screen time on my phone of how much time I spent scrolling, I know I'm telling
It
on my
took planning a Keys trip for you to admit this. Everyone, document it down. She's admitted it. No, I'm kidding.
I listen, we all do it,
Playing with you.
especially right now. There's just so much going on that, yeah, there's a lot of scrolling. But is that anything helpful? Like, I've tried to stack things. Like, if there's something I want to listen to, I'll listen to it while I'm doing something else. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I really want to listen to this. Ha! If I put my clothes away, I can listen to this at the same time.
Yeah.
So now I'm putting some fun into it,
Mhm.
stacking it, and I'm getting both things done. Now, if it's
Yeah.
something that I can't pay attention to while I'm doing something else, then you're not really listening, you're not really absorbing it. So you're kind of wasting time doing that.
Yeah.
So when you do decide that you want to gift yourself something or reward yourself something for getting something done or while you're doing it, make sure that you can do it to a point where you're going to be happy with the results
Yeah.
or you'll be able to absorb it.
You know, it's funny listening to you say that. Take, we take similar approaches, so I
Mhm.
definitely do that too, and it is really helpful. But it also made me think of, I think depending on the reason that you procrastinate, this is also where a healthy dose of it's going to sound crazy, but a healthy dose of guilt and shame can come into play and actually be helpful. Because,
Yeah,
like, what I'll do sometimes to motivate myself if I really don't want to do something is think of the phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything, which then connects me into, you're better than this, Krista. Step up, make it happen. So whether
right,
that's, I'm tired, I don't really want to go in the gym, buck up, buttercup, get in the gym.
right,
Or I really don't want to put these clothes away. Okay, well, if you don't, the cat's going to lay on them and then it's going to get cat hair all over it and then you got to redo it. So freaking do it now. Stop being
right.
lazy. So it's interesting how if we can get to a place of a certain level of self awareness, I think it really opens up the door to utilize what would be considered negative emotions to actually inspire and motivate you to get certain things done if you tend to procrastinate or put things off or whatever it is.
And
But
you
it
can,
is
I
a
mean,
slippery slope, proceed with caution.
and you can spin it in a
Hmm.
positive way. So,
Hmm.
like, what have I said before? It drives me crazy to vacuum and clean the house. Like,
Yeah.
it's annoying. And that's why I'll listen to a book while I do it or my favorite playlist because now I'm adding in some fun into it.
Hmm.
The other thing is, what how am I going to feel if somebody shows up to the house and there's fur bundles from the dogs
Yeah.
shedding all over the house.
Yeah. So
But then
you
if I
use a healthy dose of pre embarrassment to
well,
motivate
wait
you.
a second, because then I turn it and say, if anyone were to show up to the house, how do I want to feel? I
Mm.
want to feel proud. I want to feel happy. I want to feel like I got my shit together. And
Hmm.
so, therefore, you can spin the negative and go, okay, yeah, I could shame and blame myself and be like, seriously, you want to be that person? You want to be known as that person that doesn't clean regularly? Or switch it to the positive and be like, hell yeah, I got all my stuff together. I can do it all. And so if that's how you want to feel, then yes, buck up, buttercup, prove it to yourself and do it. Now there's something to be said about not doing something because of perfectionism, right? Sometimes people were like, well, I can't do it because it's not going to come out perfect. I don't have the time to put into it to make it perfect. And so why start? And so when you think of that, isn't getting it done even a little bit better than it being absolutely perfect? Isn't
So
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, the dogs were going nuts, so I missed a piece of that. I was checking the security cameras. Can you give me a little bit of like a quick cliff note version of the last piece you just said?
Perfectionism,
Oh yeah.
not
Whoo!
doing something because if you don't have time to do it perfect,
Hmm.
why bother? I don't have the time for that.
That usually never stops me, so I can't relate to that because I just will push myself until it's perfect. So
Yeah.
that now I may wait until I have the energy to ensure that I can push myself until it's perfect. So I guess in a way, it sort of can relate to my procrastination. But my procrastination is more primarily centered around um, having the energy or the mental bandwidth for something.
Okay.
But that's also the situation where then something changes and I go, oh my God, I'm so glad I didn't do this yet. I just saved myself so much time because either it needs to get done a different way, it doesn't need to get done at
Hmm.
all, the whole plan is changing, like whatever it is. It literally just happened to me with something at work this week. I got started on the first half of it, and then I was like, I'm not really sure which direction I want to go yet. So I'm not going to do anything yet. Let me work on some other stuff. And then I get a message this morning that goes, oh, well, this potentially changes the whole project. And now I may not even have to do it. So I'm really glad I didn't spend the however long it was going to take me to work on it because now I might not even need to.
Well,
And that happens way too often.
I think that goes back to your self-awareness
Yeah.
comment. If you're not self-aware, then you're not sure what the reason is that you're procrastinating. Is it because you're unsure of which direction and there's too many unknowns? If
Mm-hmm.
there's too many unknowns, then yeah, absolutely. Like, if you don't have an address, you can't get in your car and start going somewhere. What are you
Yeah.
going to do? Just drive north until you hit your spot, but you don't know anything else about what you're supposed to be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's, you got to get some details.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know enough to get started, but
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to have all of the information at one time,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes the information will uncover itself as you proceed.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, this isn't working this way, but we tried it at least. So we need to tweak it and then we need to go this way. But at least you got started so you have some data to work from. If you never
Right.
get started, you don't have any data.
This is very true.
So, okay, so fear of failure or fear of success, that's another one.
Mm-hmm.
People procrastinate because of that. Like, I'm not even going to bother because what happens if I write a book and it's so good that I then have to go on a book tour, but I don't like traveling, so and I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to be in the limelight. So I'm just going to keep all this beautiful story to myself.
And that's a short version of how that could work because somebody could really go down the rabbit hole and be like,
Mhm.
and then I got on a book tour, and then who's going to take care of the house? I've got 3 dogs. I can't take them. Who's going to take care of them? What is that going to cost me? And then what if I want to have a family? Who's going to take care of the kids because I'm going to want my wife or husband, whoever, to come with me? And then do I travel by plane? Do I travel by bus or car? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you could really go down the rabbit hole.
And this goes back, if you notice, this goes into law of attraction of I want to write a book and be successful.
Yeah.
The how and how it all unfolds is actually not your business. It will unfold the way it needs to. It's it's just getting what's important to you
Mm-hmm.
is getting your
Yep.
story out, whatever that story is, and accomplishing something as big as writing a book. Is that a priority?
Yep.
Or is being the stay-at-home mom and raising your kids and just focusing on that and not having any distractions, which, hey, I did it's important.
Mm-hmm.
After that is when I started doing other accomplishments. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it's all about your priorities.
Mm-hmm.
If we think about it, what was the one thing that I procrastinated on for years and years and years because I didn't want to take one class? One class kept me from getting a degree.
Mm.
One class. What class? Algebra. Scared to death of it.
Which is so crazy because I'm a big algebra person. I love
Hence why I waited until my kid was old enough so that she could tutor me through the class
Yeah.
and help me understand. And therefore, I was able. to get the guidance I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But that one class stopped me
Yeah.
from everything else. I could have done all the other classes, which is kind of what I did, and then save that one till the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so at least you're moving forward. And I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. When you're fearful, whether it's because of failure, here's the thing about failure, being afraid of failure. If you do absolutely nothing, you're still failing, right? In the definition of failing, whether you start and you fail or whether you never start, you fail.
Yeah.
But what is failure really?
Mm-hmm.
Because you still tried and there
Honestly,
was
okay.
something learned. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I thought you were done. I think the even bigger source of procrastination is not being able to see every step along the way, which we sort of touched on.
Mhm.
But I think that potentially, because I feel like that has it's a very sneaky layer of procrastination where you are so easily able to convince yourself that you're not moving forward with something just because, oh, well, that wouldn't work for X, Y, and Z. And I'll never forget, I was working with a coach a few years back, and there was something I really wanted, but it was in a different part of the country. And I was like, well, I'm not even going to bother because, I mean, it's all the way, multiple states over. I mean, there's nothing, what am I supposed to do about that? And my coach looked at me and was like, what does that matter to you? And I'm like, well, it matters because, like, how am I supposed to make that happen? And she goes, that's not for you to worry about. Do you want it or do you not? And I was like, well, shit, yeah. I mean, yeah, I do want it. She's like, all you have to focus on is having it. Everything else will fall into place. And everything fell into place.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
those states, it didn't matter.
it's taking a forward motion. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can be a baby step. It could be a half a step.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that you're taking a step. You're making a move in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're unsure of what direction, then that's when you have to get a little bit more clear on your goal. What is it that
Yeah.
you're trying to accomplish in the first place? Now, what else causes procrastination? Well, we talked about that too. Distractions, screen time. If you think you don't have enough time to do something, check your screen time.
That's so true. So true.
Check your
I
screen
think
time.
all the time, God, I really would love to be reading more. And then I'm like, Krista, you have time to read.
It's
It's
just
so
that,
dumb.
and what's so funny is at least for me, I'm going to read on the same device that I'm scrolling.
Oh no, I'm a hard copy book girl, but
So, yeah, I know. And my excuse for the hard copy book is like, oh, it's so heavy. Or I can't read it when your father wants to go to sleep and turns the light off, but I can read an iPad. But yet I would rather just scroll. And so then the question is, why? And that's where you have to ask yourself those questions. Why? Why would I rather scroll than read? Because scrolling is, I'm not having to absorb anything. I'm not necessarily learning anything. It's kind of mindless. Why do I need mindless activity? Well, is my day jam packed with mindful activity? And then you have to look at, well, what do I need more of? What's lacking? And I've been thinking about that a lot lately because, as you know, we've talked about this a lot. When you are exhausted from your day, it's most likely because you've been using your brain a lot, and it's taken a lot of mental activity. It could be physical too. But if you are using more of your feminine, right, that's the masculine, very structured and brain power. But when you're more in your feminine and you're just kind of like flowing and you're happy and you're like doing what you love. So sometimes you've got to recalibrate and you've got to rebalance that. And so if you're ending your day and you're feeling so drained and so exhausted, add in a 10-minute dance break. Add in music that you can, thanks to my lovely Krista, I have a headset that I can put on and I can actually karaoke while I'm on the computer if I know the words. And so sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to add the fun. So another thing to do is engage your inner child. Have some fun with it. Create an adventure out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I have to go grocery shopping. But if I do, what if I go and I'm looking for blah, 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 and I find it, and then I could come home and I could, I don't know, bake a cake. So you can add in rewards that are fun for your inner child. Or I'm going to go to that store. I really don't want to have to go run errands, but it's right next to Hobby Lobby. I could go buy one thing that I could paint. Well, we know that could take hours. Uh, that's a whole other kind of procrastination and distraction. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes you need that, and that's the other piece of this. If you're going all week long, you should build in some time for that downtime, for that time to just kind of allow your mind to escape.
Mm-hmm.
How many times, do you, well, I will lay by the pool and I'll be like, "Ugh, I'm not accomplishing anything. I'm getting absolutely nothing done."
Can't relate.
But I am, because I'm laying there, I'm allowing my thoughts, I'm, to come up and bubble up. I'm being very self-aware. I'm in nature. I'm breathing in the fresh air. I'm giving myself a little staycation.
Mm-hmm.
So, why are you procrastinating? What is it? Is it helping me accomplish anything? Is it holding me back? What's holding me back? So you have to be self aware. That is the key to all of this. And then you can get yourself through the procrastination. Sorry, go ahead.
You're fine. You don't need to say sorry. This is your show, babe. Um, I was just gonna say, and if you need help with self-awareness and or procrastination and or figuring out what are the things that you do enjoy, how do you bring out your inner child? Book a call with Moksha Grace with Michelle at mokshagrace.com/coaching.
Yes.
Or if you prefer group coaching, go to mokshagrace.com/community and join the Odonata community,
Yep.
group coaching every single week.
Yep.
And if you just want to learn more about Michelle, you can go to mokshagrace.com and learn all about Michelle, what she offers, who she is, and access those same links as before, all from one place at mokshagrace.com.
Because my COO set everything up to be seamless.
Guys, introduce whimsy into your day.
Yes.
Introduce things that are going to make you laugh and chuckle. Like we
You
just.
have to. You have to.
Mhm.
I mean, because if you're not, are you truly, if you're not enjoying, if you can't look back on your day and say, you know what, that was fun, or I really enjoyed that, whatever it was, are you really living, or are you just getting through your day?
They say the joy is in the journey. And I got to say, I am very much a person who rolls my eyes at that statement, but it's kind of true. I'm sorry, I may have whispered that too low. It's kind of true. And by kind of, it is true.
Well, I'll give it to you this way, because we are Disney fanatics. If we're just going to go to Disney and we're going to ride the same rides we've always gone on, and we already know what's going to happen, and then we're just going to drive home, why bother going?
This is not. So I will sometimes be at the park when I'm tired, towards the end of the day and be like, why do I come here? So I'm not really the target audience for that example, because I genuinely, when I'm at Disney, will sometimes ask myself that when I'm particularly tired. So
What I love about this example is there was one trip, well, there's been a couple trips where we've said, you know what, let's just do something totally different. Let's not even worry about the rides and let's like people watch.
oh my God, they've been the best trips.
Right.
You pick
When you
one or
just
two
sit
rides
there.
to go on, and then you're
Yeah.
just vibing the rest of the time. You're snacking, you're walking, you're sitting. Oh, it's the best.
So if you have something that you have to do that is mundane, a chore that you can't stand doing, or you just have to get it done, you don't really want to get it done, and you've procrastinated and you're scrolling on your phone endlessly and you're wasting the day away, think of a new way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Come up with something fun.
And that one way you find for something, there's a good chance it's going to help you with other things too. Like the example you gave of like watch a podcast when if you hate folding laundry or doing the dishes or chore or
Mhm.
whatever. I'll do that if I really am not in the mood to go into the gym. I'll put on some sort of YouTube video, and then like after a few minutes in the gym, I switch to my playlist. But for some reason, that at least gets me out there, gets me started. And then once I'm there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
finish up.
I used to do that with books. I would only allow myself to read the book
Smart.
when I was on the treadmill.
Yep. I learned that from you. I did that for a while. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to read the book because they were fiction and it was like, oh my God, what's going to happen in the next chapter? But I would not allow myself to peek unless I was actively on the treadmill. And
Yeah.
so it forced me. You could do that with watching a new show. You
Watching
could only
podcasts.
watch watching the podcast, watching episodes of your favorite show, that just came out, and instead of binge watching it,
Ugh.
you get to,
Not
you get
binge wash? Never heard of it.
you can play high energy music, create a listening to those motivational talks. Like, I have a couple of them saved. Like, there's one that's like Matthew McConaughey. It is the most I know, but it is such a powerful talk that I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
I'm surprised you didn't just say, all right, all right, all right.
All right.
Oh,
Set up a treat for yourself. If I do this, then I'll, get to call my friend and have a conversation on the phone, or I get to have ice cream, or whatever it is. I get to scroll for 10 minutes. And that's the other thing. If you know that you have 8 hours ahead of you, give yourself like a block of time. I'm going to do 30 minutes, 40 minutes hardcore work. And then I'm going to take a 10 or 15-minute break, go outside, ground, hug a tree, take the dogs for a walk. One day we went and we met in the front yard and we rode our bikes. It was like 15 minutes. We rode down the street. We came right back. We
yeah,
got back to work. And we had more energy because we actually had like we woke up, right?
true.
So setting up treats for yourself is important. Um, I thought this was funny because I was like looking and reading things, and someone put, imagine yourself as a secret agent or even a race car driver. I did that yesterday. I had to go cross town twice, and I was in my car. I don't drive on the highway much. I don't even drive much. My office is at the house, so it's easy. But yesterday I was like a race car driver, and I had to remind myself that I better slow down.
I was gonna say that's alarming.
Yeah.
After all of this, comment, let us know what methods are you gonna try? What methods do you find work for you?
Yeah.
What's your biggest struggle with procrastination? And maybe we'll answer those questions or comment on them on the next show.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea. Why don't we take a couple deep breaths, bring
Sure.
us into the moment, remind us why we're here, and think of something that you want to get done that you're going to set as a goal to get done before the end of the weekend, and then just do one little baby step a day to get it done. So take a deep breath in and hold it. Nice exhale out. Think about how you're going to feel once you've accomplished that and it's done. Deep breath in. Hold it. Exhale slowly. And deep breath in. And nice release. So think of some fun ways that you can choose to do something that you've been putting off and let us know, definitely. We love to hear from you. Thank you all for being here. And as always, it's a pleasure. And remember, every day you can have a good day or a bad day. You get to decide. So choose wisely. See ya.